As a practice, we've always been interested in competitions as a way of getting really good outcomes on projects, simply because once you win a competition, your client buys your scheme, so it doesn't change them. It tends to be the same. It tends not to change. So this was a competition. We'd won competitions for the Stonehenge Visitors Centre in the UK. We'd won competitions for the Australian Pavilion in Venice. We won a competition for the Melbourne Museum. So it was something that we jumped on straight away. I mean, the opportunity to do the Shepparton Art Museum, and being a competition, we were more than happy to compete. One of the key things is that it had to be a symbol for Shepparton. It had to be something that symbolised Shepparton. It had to be a cultural contribution for Shepparton. Also, being on the main road in from Melbourne, it also ought to be a signal. We felt there should be a signal to say you've arrived in Shepparton and this is the art museum, and that's an important part of Shepparton. So all those sort of things came together. So that tended to prompt us to deal with something that would stand out. A nice simple cubic form that went up 5 stories and sat there. So that then lent itself to this multiple addresses, because each side became an address. And going tall become much more obvious. It becomes much more of a signal coming into town, but it also allows you, when you get to the top floor and you've got sort of areas where you're bringing people and entertaining people and doing things like that, raising funds, all that sort of thing, you get this fabulous view out over the top of the Goulburn River Red Gum Reserve, out to the Barmah Forest to the northwest. I think it's about taking advantage of everything that's there, and the lake is one, and opening it at ground level out onto the lake, and we made a determination that we'd locate the Indigenous Art Centre on that side looking out onto the lake, because it gave them the opportunity to have a space of their own. And so it's really just taking the opportunities as they came. We made a decision to bury all the services, the loading dock, the plant rooms and a lot of those sort of things, under what we called the Art Hill. In other words, we built them and then we brought the dirt back up over the top and hid them as a hill. But that then meant that we could have the cafe on the first floor that opened out onto the top of that hill, and from there you then got the view across the lake. So it's really about just maximising all the surrounding opportunities as part of the development of the design of the building. We were talking about characteristics of country towns and the country, and one of them was the veranda. That, you go down the main street and all the shops have the verandas to provide a bit of shade and out of the heat and the sun and the rain and that sort of thing. And so we abstracted that and actually created plates that came down the face of the building and then turned out to create a veranda at a lower level. So it was the plate and the veranda, the L shapes that we created, that was one of the ideas behind the nature of it. The other idea was the fact that we were having a museum, we're having an Indigenous arts centre, we're having a cafe, and we're having a visitors information centre. Meant that each of the 4 sides of the building had different addresses, in effect a different address. So we varied the heights of them, we varied the colour of the panelling and so on around the building, so they took on a slight individuality. Each face was therefore a panel, and each panel is a different coloured metal or material. So there's Corten on the side facing the lake, because it's a sort of quite a friendly brown colour, and it fits in with the Indigenous cultural centre and the earth and the materials, the materiality, all that sort of thing. On other sides we had sort of zinc colour and aluminium and so on in different colours. Some of them quite subtly different, but they were just, each L shape was a different signal. Well, we created a sort of a public space right through the centre of the building, that you come in and there's the stairs go up, and then the stairs continue up, and that's how you orient yourself, and then the galleries are off to either side. As you go up the main stairs to the first floor, and you've got galleries, the major galleries. You keep circulating up, and then you've got more galleries, and you starting to get into other activities. As you go up there, the next floor and so on, you've got the back of house. You've got the director and the staff, and you've got storage and all sorts of things happening. Therefore, the galleries form the main corners of the building, and therefore that's where the limitation on light was. But on the Galleria space through the middle, we've got big windows at each end that let the light come through. Well, I think it got the Kayala Arts people out of a shop front and into a proper facility with workshop areas, with gallery spaces, with office space, with all those sorts of things, with an outdoor area where they can develop things like a fire pit and working, sort of communal areas. It becomes a much more complete opportunity for them, and I think the museum as a whole takes it all very seriously. I mean, the first big exhibition is Lynn Onus, who's a Yorta man. I mean, he's from that area, and he's a significant artist, and it's a really good first exhibition and it's symbolic, I think. I think it allows itself to be much more than just the museum, because it does have these other facilities. The cafe is able to cater and do things, and there's outdoor areas off the cafe. It's a very nice space to have functions. As is the top floor, where you've got the meeting room and the lounge. You can have other functions up there as well, which can be catered for. The museum is critical to providing support to the town, and it does it through its education programs and through its exhibitions and through all its cultural activities that it generates, and that's just absolutely significant. If you don't have it, or you don't have it in a strong symbolic sort of way, having the power of the building sitting there, and people all knowing it, and people going to things and enjoying the interaction, it just builds it up and builds it up. We're delighted with the final result of the building. It's turned out really well. We're very, we've had a lot of good experiences with Kane as a builder. They're a good builder, and I think we've got the result we hoped for. So we're very pleased.